Today, we are going to be talking about some of the most creative light hacks that people are using to get the most out of their grows. But before we do, let's give a shout out to today's sponsor, Grow Dots. If you want the fastest, easiest way to feed your plants, Grow Dots is it. You mix them in once at the beginning of the grow, and they feed your plant all the way to harvest. Find out more over at realgrowers.com, and let's get into it. Hi, see you ready?
I'm ready, man. This one is interesting to me because it seems like I can't tell if this is bro science or real science.
The alternate light cycle thing?
Yeah, because there's conflicting opinions, and I think we're going to get into them.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different stuff, and then finally, after about halfway through this, I had an epiphany. I'm like, I think I get it, man. I think I get it. So, I don't know. We can start right off the bat with 24 hours of light for your clones and your veg, or 18 hours of light and 6 hours of darkness.
Okay, yeah. So that's the first thing. I have heard you want to mimic the actual daylight
Sure.
of when veg cycle would be happening in nature, which would be what, 16 hours?
Somewhere around there. 18 hours is what we do.
Okay.
You can if you want to. You can also supercharge nature. You know what? It has to do with, people will say, oh, plants need to sleep. Everything needs to sleep. C3 plants, which is what cannabis is, doesn't theoretically need to sleep. It's able to build itself and make sugars at the same time. It's able to take in carbon and build itself at the same time. Some other plants, C4 plants, they're called, they sleep, and that's when they build themselves. Cannabis is not one of those plants. So right there and then tells you that. And by the way, anyone that's ever left their lights on 24 hours a day in veg knows plants don't need sleep, man. They go nuts 24 hours a day. All they're doing, they're getting more energy. Light is the energy. They're getting, 25% more energy? Mm-hmm. So they're able to photosynthesize for 25% more of the time.
Okay, and so what's coming to mind is like tropical areas where there's more light. Obviously, stuff grows better. But then I think too much of a good thing, but you're saying for cannabis plants, you don't have to worry about that when it comes to light.
Right. They can only absorb a certain amount of light, and after that, it'll just kind of like raindrops will just roll off them. It will do nothing. It's called the DLI.
Okay, so then that brings up my question. Do you hit a point of diminishing returns where it just doesn't make sense to keep giving them light?
Man, you read the script, bro. Yes, that's a huge thing. That's what a lot of these are. You'll get a little bit better results. You give them 25% more light, 25% more energy. Don't forget, you got to run your air conditioner now for 25% more, your CO2 for 25% more. You're not going to get 25% more growth.
Yeah, and so you're paying 25% more resources and not pulling 25% more.
Yeah, and I don't have those, the specific percentage, but if you're getting 7 or 8 or 10% more growth, is it worth it to you? It really is situational.
Okay, so that's in veg specifically.
Sure.
Now, let's talk about bloom, because there's conflicting things about lights in bloom that I wanted to ask you about as well.
Yeah.
All right, so specifically, there's a guy, Rasta Jeff, and he's kind of popularized.
Good friend.
Yeah, he's popularized the idea of going back to veg light for the last week of bloom.
Sure, 18.6.
Yeah, okay, so I put my lights to more darkness to trick the plants into blooming.
Sure.
But then there's people that go back to veg.
It's not enough time. That last week isn't enough time for the plant to realize what's happening and then turn back to a vegetative plant again. Mm-hmm. It's flowering. It's got that last week where it's just absorbing energy and it's making these trichomes. His theory is that you get 8 more hours where the plant is able to make those trichomes because it's photosynthesizing, it's building.
And the light triggers that trichome.
Yes.
Okay.
The light is the energy.
And didn't you say something about like the trichomes are a sunscreen, so the more light, they're going to produce more sunscreen?
That is absolutely the theory behind it, yes.
Okay, so there's that theory of increasing the light for the last week.
Sure.
But then I've also heard people saying 14 hours of darkness for the last 2 weeks.
I have never tried this, but I have heard about it, and when I was reading about this, it kind of did make sense. Okay, so they're trying to simulate late fall, some of these strains that just don't want to finish by making the days shorter. You signal for the plant to finish, I could definitely see that working. Here's the problem: is we talked about lights photosynthesize, or the plant photosynthesizing when the lights are on. When your lights are off, you're missing 2 hours of the 12 hours of photosynthesis. So you are robbing yourself of some of that trichome building time. But it is signaling the plant to dense up and to finish up those flowers.
So if you go more light at the last week or so, you get more trichomes, but the theory is if you go less light, you get denser and faster finishing for your buds.
Compared those two compared, yes, that would be the theory on it. But can I hijack?
Yeah.
DLI. DLI is daily light integral, and it's basically like your PPFD, the strength of your light times how many hours you're running those lights, and that's how many light, I call them, they're photons, but I think of them as like little light raindrops. Your plant can only absorb a certain amount in a 24-hour period. Anything less than that is wasted potential. Anything more than that is completely wasted. So I started thinking about, if you can get all your DLI in 10 hours, then does the plant really know the difference if it sleeps and then it sleeps for 14 hours? Yeah, so I was thinking that a lot of these alternate light cycles, probably a lot have to do with how much light you're giving them, whether they're hitting their maximum amount of light or if they're not.
So it's not just time period, it's also intensity.
Yeah, it's how hard it rains. Hey, it rained for 2 hours, but it only drizzled.
Yeah.
You know, it rained for 15 minutes, but it poured.
Okay, and then here's the last one. This one is the one that I'm mostly leaning towards bro science on, and it's people saying complete darkness for the last little bit of your flower.
So I've never understood 24 hours of darkness before harvest. Photosynthesis is building of the plant. The trichomes are sunscreen. I cannot imagine what putting it in the dark for 2 to 3 days does. Sometimes they do 24 hours. They do up to 72 hours. And I just don't understand it. And by the way, you've got those big dank buds right now. They're filled with water. What a perfect time for mold and mildew to start in a day or 2 or 3 days of complete darkness, with the plant and all that moisture in the air. So I give the thumbs down on that one. I've seen no empirical evidence, sir.
Imperial or empirical?
It doesn't matter, dude, all right? If it comes from the empire, man, I'm believing it, all right?
Okay.
But specifically with this 24-hour dark period, what about y'all? Have any of y'all tried it? If so, I really want to know. Have you seen any positives, any negatives? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending over here. Come on, I know you like them.